Welcome back. I'm Meg.
And I'm Mari.
And welcome to Spine and Ink. Today, we have a really special episode for you. We are talking about Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros.
I'm so excited.
Third book in the Empyrean series. We are repping our Baz Gaiath merch. Well, in that case,
mine is from
Fangirls podcast.
Yes, I was gonna say mine is from another podcast, Fantasy Fangirls. We adore them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for more like deep diving into this series, and I think they just recently did ACOTAR as well, go check them out. We love them. So this is actually some of their merch, but it's what I have that is Empyrean related. So here we are.
Also sisters, also from Colorado, so
they're kind of our idols.
But yeah, today we will be talking about Onyx Storm, as I said, but the first half of this, probably less than half, will be spoiler free. Just some of our thoughts and ratings and anything that does not include a spoiler.
Yes.
Once we reach the part where we will begin talking about the entire rest of everything and when spoilers will be included, I will let you know when you should see yourself out. And
go finish the book if you have.
Yeah, go finish it and then come back and watch the rest of the episode.
Please and thank you.
We'll start first off. Mari, what did you rate the book?
Okay, so it's a really funny question. This was a 5-star read for me. It says 4 stars on my Goodreads, and the entire sole reason was because of the amount of times that they said same. And I said, speak with your words. You're adults. Xaden would say something really important and Violet would be like, same. Or he would say something adorable and lovely and she'd be like, same. No! Speak with your words. Say, I love you too. Thank you. That was literally the entire reason. But I couldn't rate it like 4.95 stars. So, yeah. But it was 5 stars.
You could put it in the description.
In my description. I'm like, this is
4.5.
It was a 5-star read. It was a 5-star read. There was just like a couple tiny little baby things like that.
So
that,
like 4.5
irked me. But that was literally it. Yeah.
Okay, right. I rated it 5 stars.
Yeah.
A 5-star even read for me. This was a 5-star read for me.
Yeah.
By no means a perfect book.
Yeah.
There are fantasy books that I like so much better than I like these books, but I'm
reading based off of enjoyment.
Yeah, but it's still just...
This was the, most eloquent, beautifully written book I've ever read.
Yeah, no, because it's not. It is not a perfect book by any means. But, it's just not...
Yeah, I know.
It is not
I just can't say anything negative.
No, it's not. It's not
idol,
flowery
Rebecca Yarros.
Prose. It's not...
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect book, but it is perfect to me. It's perfect to me. And it was perfect for what I needed, and it was exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And if you have read the rest of the series, at least personally to me, and I'm sure a lot of people agreed, this was not at all how I expected this book to go.
No, not at all. Oh my god, I don't know what I expected. That's the thing, is I don't really know what I was expecting, but this was not it. At the end of Iron Flame, I'm also not going to say any spoilers for Iron Flame.
Yeah, we're going to avoid
we're going to try and avoid all that. But at the end of Iron Flame, I was like, that was low-key the first time I was ever upset with the direction that an author took a book. And now I feel so guilty for having no faith in Rebecca, and I apologize, Rebecca Yarros. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
She had a vision. I didn't see it until I read this book, and I said, shit. She knew what she was doing. She had a vision, and it was so good for the plot.
Mm-hmm. My favorite aspect of this book, and I have heard so many other people talk about it too, but she did such a phenomenal job in this book, deepening my connection with side characters.
100%.
There wasn't a single secondary side character that I didn't feel like I got more information about them. The, core, people and those core side characters, I learned so much more about all of them.
Mm-hmm.
This book, even when a lot of them weren't even in
Yeah, actually that is true.
A major part of the book. I still learned a lot about them.
Yeah.
and felt more connected to them. So that was definitely, I think, the best part of this book. She's so good at writing like friendships and relationships.
Yeah. This book like really, really tied in the found family kind of aspect.
Yeah.
And, oh, I just loved it. I just
Yeah.
loved it. I have to agree with you on that. I think we got so much of like the side characters, and we got a lot more like character growth with all of them, and we also got so much more of the world, which I really loved.
Yeah.
The world expansion was crazy, and I think like really necessary, and I loved it. I think that was like one of
Yeah.
my favorite parts about this book.
It was
that we got to
already
learn more
quite
about it.
large.
Oh
and
yeah,
it
it was
got
already
even
so
bigger.
expansive, but
It just got even better and bigger and more epic.
yeah.
Definitely more epic.
Yeah.
Like, this book was epic.
Oh, it was so good. There are so many. It was a funny book.
Yeah, it
That
was
was the
very
thing.
funny.
It was so funny. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like so many parts of it are very serious, but it was just so funny. Like the comic relief is so well timed. Her comedic timing in this book was so good.
Fourth Wing, without giving any spoilers, Fourth Wing is very, setting the
Yeah.
scene, setting the stage, bringing you into the world. Iron Flame was really sad.
Yeah.
That book was really sad.
Yeah,
That one made me
but-
just really,
yeah.
really sad.
But also
this
getting a
one-
lot more about like the politics, I think.
Yeah. This one felt very settled.
Yeah.
Like, she really found her voice in this one.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of the characters, like you said, we learned more about them, but they also kind of just like stepped into their own a lot more.
Yeah.
I had like such a hard time finding holes, I will say. Rebecca Yarros is just so good at that. Like she thinks everything through. Not a single thing she writes is an accident or a mistake. Like every little thing. And so knowing that from the last two books, I was like digging. I was highlighting everything. I was reading into
Yeah.
every sentence where I was like, what is that going to mean? Is that important? Like, is that going to become a hole? Like, is that just going to be brushed over,
Eyelash.
brushed under the rug? There's a couple of things that are unanswered, but we know for a fact we're going to come back to. Everything
Yeah.
was just like tied together so nicely, so neatly, like with a cute little bow, except for all the things she left unanswered.
Yeah, except for all the things we don't
Um,
know. But
But
I have no doubt, because
Yeah.
I was concerned after Iron Flame that
Yeah.
I was like, there's so much going on and there's so much information I just got,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with. And then this book came around and answered everything.
Yep.
I mean, not everything, but it answered a lot, and I was very, very happy with it.
Me
I was
too.
worried. I was actually worried that I was
Yeah.
not going to like it.
I was
and
concerned.
I liked it a lot. I
I loved it.
was really happy with it.
Okay.
I think we have to move on. So if you haven't read the book,
Spoiler
Bye.
warning. Get out of
Bye.
here. And then
See
come back when you
yourself
finished
out.
it.
yeah, come back later. And with all that being said, now we're going to move on to all the good stuff. So let's start at the beginning. Let's just start at the very beginning. I do want to discuss the map at the very beginning of the book, because that
Yes.
is one of the only qualms that I have with this entire book is the map.
Gasp.
And it's because it doesn't include the Isles.
Which, like, I think she did on purpose so that we didn't know if they were going there or not, which I totally
know.
understand. But at the same time, like,
Yeah, because for a while
I'm very confused. Like, it would have been really nice to have them, but I'm kind of glad that she didn't include them, because then I was like, are we going to go to the Isles in this book? Or is that going to be next book? Like, I didn't quite know where the book was going, and I'm glad for that.
Yeah, because I will say there was a point that they were talking about visiting the Isles, and then Grady wanted to go, elsewhere, whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there was quite a while before we actually got any sort of traveling that I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And I told you, I was like, I don't think
Yeah,
that they're
yeah.
actually going to go anywhere this book. I don't think that they're actually going to travel anywhere.
And I was ahead
She
of
was
her,
like-
so I had to sit there and I said,
She was like,
"Mhm,
yeah.
yeah.
But
I
we
don't
did.
know, girl. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's talk about some of the epigraphs.
Yeah, let's talk about some of
because-
the epigraphs.
In the like towards the beginning, the epigraph where Lilith was like, "Oh well, our daughter has like horrible taste in men." I read into that so majorly. I was reading into that so bad because I was like, "Lilith, what do you mean? What do you
No,
mean?"
And she just means like, I mean, she's right.
I mean, yeah, But like
He's Veninging.
he's a Venin.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, but for
But
the right
who do you-
reasons. He did the wrong thing for the right reasons.
I know.
Which comes up later in the book.
But I don't think she was talking about him.
I don't think she was talking about him. And
She
then
was
Halden
definitely-
came in, and I was like,
She was most definitely talking
I
about
see.
Halden.
Which, well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, some of the epigraphs I was like really reading into, and then I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, I think we're okay.
Well, but I read into that one too, but then I was like, wait, because when you read it, that epigraph, I don't think that we've met Halden yet. We have not met Halden
that was
yet.
like early on, and we hadn't met him yet.
So I was like,
Because that was
she's just getting a sense that he has terrible taste in men. But later, when they were talking about Dane at one of the aisles, and he was like, the old lady was like, oh, your dad always predicted you'd end up with Dane and that you would love each other.
Well, and then she was like,
so I was like,
your dad predicted like whatever, and he described you perfectly, Dane Atos. I lost it. I gasped.
That was so funny. But
so
she
funny.
had to have written that when she was dating Halden, which
Oh,
just makes it even
100%.
funnier, honestly.
Wait,
Oh,
what
the
order
Ven.
did
Okay,
things
so
happen
the
in?
Venin were inside the walls already.
They're in the walls.
They're in the walls
That
of the
was
school.
wild.
That
I
was
was not ready for that.
Yeah. How
Which made
far?
me really confused because of like the whole wards conversation. Then they're still talking about how like Xaden feels better within the wards and whatnot, but then all these Venin are in there running amok. So I'm confused.
Well, but remember, Jack says. Oh, sorry. Jack says that he can sense other Venin and whatnot, and they aren't able to pull as much power, I don't think, when they're initiates or Sims. But he was like, if they're Sage
Then I can't.
or
tell.
Maven, then they could be walking around and you'd have no idea. When they're inside the wards, they can control it better. When they're outside the wards, they cannot control it.
Okay.
Xaden like had more self-control in the wards than he had outside of the wards.
Because I was like, I was just worried I
But-
wasn't understanding that correctly. Like that's what I got from it, but I was
But
like,
they
maybe
could
I'm
still
not getting
pull
that.
magic because
Right.
they were obviously
Right.
still doing
Well,
that. So
Jack obviously had
yeah,
to do that
but
and all that.
they drain. What I am really curious about, I guess, going forward, is that they chose to just drain all of those people, and they didn't start draining the school itself.
Oh, I don't know why that went like right over. I just didn't even think about that. I was like, yeah, okay,
They were in scribe uniforms. They killed a bunch
right. A bunch
injured
of riders.
riders and
So
probably
here's my thing is,
infantry,
like,
too.
Is it a different kind of magic? Is it a different kind? Like, is it better if they get it directly from riders than if they get it from like the ground?
I don't know. I
'Cause
don't.
it's like a different.
Maybe
kind of
they
magic.
have more magic if they're riders.
Maybe.
But they also
Or they're just trying to take them out.
But they also there was
This
too
is
many
war
people.
after all.
Yeah, but there was too many people in the school too that they want to keep alive, and maybe that's part of it.
Interesting.
Like they know that Violet's in there,
Yeah.
and they want her
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
So they're not going to start
Because
draining
Theophany, however you pronounce it, Theophany.
Theophany. I think it's Theophany.
I think so. I think Theophany. Like wanted her
Theophany?
alive. Weird. It's I
Yeah,
don't know. There's some
anyways.
real suspicious stuff going on there that like ended up kind of just glazed over.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they were in like scribes robes is really weird to me because I'm like the scribes are suspicious, and why would my brain's going, y'all. My brain is going because if they're all like coming in as quote unquote scribes, you know, like disguised as scribes, what if like that's how all of the Veninging, that's what we've been calling them, if all the Venin like history, any books about it, all of that is gone? What if like they got rid of any tomes or anything that was like, here's how you cure it, because they're in there and they have access to the archives because they're all like scribes, so they're the ones rewriting history because they're
guess,
in there, so
but
they're getting rid of all
they-
of the history of it, except they're unprepared. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because they're all
that's
going
a
in there
fair
like
point.
as scribes, and so they're able to get into the archives. Like they have so much power if they have access to the archives. Like they have so much control over it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I don't think they'd been in there as scribes for that long.
No,
Like,
no,
it was
no,
just
no.
post
This is
that.
like this is a theory under a theory where it's like
yeah.
okay, they hadn't been in there that long, but like what if there are some that have been in there a really long
There
time and we don't know
most
it?
Definitely
Oh, 100%.
are Venin.
I think Justinia is safe. Like, I don't think she's gonna be any part of that. Like, I think she's clearly 100% on their side.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, there has to be some scribes.
I think there's most definitely people in higher up positions that are Venom. We just have not met them yet.
Oh, 100%. There's going to be so many Venom reveals, I feel like, in the next 2 books, or, like, even the next book. There's going to be so many people.
Or maybe not. I don't know. I really can't tell.
I don't know. Or, like, sometimes like, working with the Venom.
Yeah. Well, now we know one.
That's true. True.
Pancheck.
True.
Which...
Crazy.
Who was he?
Was he? I was gonna ask the same thing. Is Llewellyn a place or a person or both? I was so lost. I was so confused.
Llewellyn?
And apparently this is like a universal experience because I've seen so many TikToks, so many reels, like so many memes, and everyone's like, "Who the fuck is Llewellyn?" And I said, I don't know. A person, a place, both. I'm confused.
Okay,
I'm not the only one, apparently.
Pancheck he's on leadership, and he, in, like, the first book, really kind of gave the vibe that he wanted Violet's mom's job and Melgren's job. And
that actually is not that crazy of a reveal, then.
Commandant of Basgiath War College. What's a commandant? Anyways, all I have to say, he's in a place of power and whatever, and so he's important. But he was not a Venom, but he obviously was a traitor.
Yes.
Which that does suck, though.
Yeah, but that's what's so interesting to me about that is not like who it is. It's just that there is someone that's not a Venom that's working with the Venom. So then I'm like, okay, so how many people are actually Venom and how many aren't but are working with them or like helping them?
What do you think they told him that he was going to get out of that?
Well, that's what I want to know, though. Is I'm like, what do you get out of that, though?
He's not just going to hand him over for no reason.
No. So I feel like I would bet that we're going to learn more about that in the next book, or someone else is going to be in the same position. We're going to understand more of what they get out of that, because I was kind of wondering the same thing. And like,
we learned nothing. He got killed too quick.
Atos, there was somewhere in the book that it was like very obvious that he was the reason for it. Oh my god, what was it? There was somewhere where I was like, this is Atos' fault.
Earlier on
in the book,
when they go to but they go stationed outside the wards.
Yes.
Because they're being punished, and then Marin's family is out in that town.
Right,
and they go to
but he made some comment that he sent them there and then shit starts going down.
Yes.
And so I was like, I thought this during the last book, but I was like, I think Atos might be one of them where he is either a Venom or he is working with them.
But again, he punished them, sent them out there, knowing that they probably would run into trouble because they had been having all those issues out there. But then Pancheck also would have known.
I guess
because
in the end of the book it was
would have told Atos would have told Pancheck where they were.
So and then in the end of the book when Xaden like finds out Pancheck is a traitor, he's like, oh, and you caused this and this and this and this and this. So never mind. But
I still think
things are fishy with Atos. I think he's also involved. Wrong. Like I don't think it's just Pancheck. Like I think he's also involved in plenty. Also, goodbye Professor Grady.
Yeah, that was crazy. Grady and Aura just like bye, dead.
Yeah,
so
which was
quick.
Crazy.
I didn't even really get to process that.
No, it just happened and then we're moving on. And I was like, oh, okay, that was a convenient way to get rid of the Grady problem. Like, all right.
Yeah, but it was kind of funny that she killed him and then died.
Yeah, I was kind of like, oh, girl, you made a mistake.
It was like she was being stupid and they were telling her that she was being stupid.
Yeah.
And then she was
just being so insufferable.
And she was like,
the entire section before that.
No, I didn't mean to. And then she died. And I was like, well, you were being stupid. But again, it just that whole sequence really just again went to show that none of those people were supposed to be in that quest squad.
That was probably a big part, like a big point of that was to be like, look, these are not the people that should be traveling with her.
Because look at what happens when they're all together. Yeah.
And so I think that, yeah. And it was like a convenient way to get rid of the Grady problem of him, you know, being in charge of where they go. I mean, I think either way, Violet would have just been like, absolutely not. That's not how this is going to go. And she's too valuable for them to say anything about it. Like, she gets a lot. She gets a lot of things to go her way just because she's like, what are you going to do? Say no?
Yeah, I mean, they can't.
They can't. They literally can't. Oh, she's so badass. Love her.
Okay. I have a few questions, but I'll start with this one because we're trying to go in order. Professor Ryerson. How do you feel about Professor Ryerson?
Professor.
No longer professor.
No longer professor.
R.I.P.
This was interesting to me because it was just like one more thing screaming at us that Xaden is the embodiment of control. Like, him being brought in to teach people their signets because he has his, like, so in control and he's, like, mastered his signet and whatnot. I was like, this is one more way of her just, like, throwing in our face that, like, he is the embodiment of control. Mm-hmm. Like, in my opinion. It was another thing where we already know that he's, like, so powerful, but not like Violet is, where she doesn't have it, like, honed in yet. Like, he mastered it, and he mastered that shit quick. And so him being brought in as a professor, I was like, yeah, this tracks. Like, this tracks.
That was awesome.
And it's so good. I loved it. I was a little salty for a minute when they were like, so we can't be together. And I was like, okay, boo, yawn, boring. And then they went around it anyway, so I said, all right, cool. Which I kind of loved. Kind of hate that.
The tension was good.
The tension was really good this book. I was kind of worried about that too when I was like, oh, we're already getting them, like, together in the first book. So I was like, how are you going to create, like, the tension and, like, conflict and, like, other things? Mm-hmm. I mean, Iron Flame, we all know how I feel about the miscommunication that happened in Iron Flame, and Rebecca literally called herself out in this book when Riddick was making fun of them. That was great. I mean, still, I loved that book. It did not deter me in any way, shape, or form, but I was kind of like, how is she going to create?
So repetitive, and I was worried that we were going to have the same
I was scared about that
conversation.
Where we're going to have, like, a lot of the same things being said this book, and so that was, like, a really good way to create tension, I think.
And there was repetition in there.
Yeah.
You know, conversations, but I felt like it was justified most of the time.
100%.
I wasn't upset about it.
No.
So loved Professor Ryerson, loved Jealous Xaden.
Loved Jealous Xaden.
I wish we could have
throwing
had
Halden.
More. Yeah.
I gasped. I was like, sir, that
Halden
is a prince. But he's a prick. He's a prick.
Yeah,
we hate him.
Halden.
I hate him. But I'm also excited that we got to see him.
Okay. Favorite aisle.
I feel like, I mean, was not, like, my favorite in any way, shape, or form, but I just feel like so much happened on the Isle of Zanal that I was like, I know, I'm sorry. Yeah. But we got, like, I don't know, I just feel like that's going to be really valuable later on in the series. Like, next book or fifth book. Like, all of the things that they got. I also... Traeger. That was insane. But
that was really...
It allowed a lot of, like... I don't know, it made me sympathize with Kat and kind of, like, dig into her character and, like, her trauma a bit more. I felt so bad for her. And so I don't, like... Again, not dismissing it by any means, but I think, like, that was really good for her character.
No, I agree. It totally was. It made me feel so terrible for Kat.
Yeah.
And it made me so sad. I did not expect to cry.
No! I was not ready for that.
But all of a sudden, I looked at her. I was, like, reading on the floor, and I looked at her, and I was like, oh my God. And I just, like, started crying. But it wasn't even that it was him, because I didn't... Like, I liked him. He was fine.
Yeah.
But it was just the way that it happened. Mm-hmm. And it was so fast and so brutal. And then
it was
the
just,
fact
like,
that
so out of nowhere.
His griffin died. And that was so sad. And he was like, I know. And she was, like, trying to get to him. And
that
then...
was really heartbreaking.
I know,
but again, like I said, it, like, made me really sympathize with her.
I know. And then Violet had to pull her shit together and say thank you, and that was horrific. And, like, everyone just had to pull it together and, like, make it look okay, and that was so awful. I've never read anything brutal. So awful.
But it was kind of interesting to me that I was like, oh, these aisles are, like, no more peaceful. Well, okay, they are.
They claim to be, but they're not.
They claim to be, but they're not any better
No.
than
Which
the
is part of what
continent.
made me so mad about the Irids.
Yeah, which was, we'll come back to that. But finishing off what I was going to say about this isle specifically, orange was so important there. Like, everything was orange, which I was really curious about.
Yeah, I kept noticing
And
your
I
highlights.
highlighted it like every time it was mentioned. And like there have been a lot of theories about like orange dragons and stuff. Don't really know where I stand on that quite yet, but I feel like that is going to be important somewhere. So I'm like, I'm just keeping an eye on that. I'm keeping an eye on that. I feel like this isle like gave me a lot to think about, gave me a lot to theorize about, and it was kind of the time where I don't know, it just felt very different, but it was interesting to see. I was like, oh, they're no better than the continent.
My favorite isle is Umbriel, which is where Xaden's mom was. And I don't know, there was like so much sad stuff that happened. Emotionally for the characters, it was very sad. And really sad for Xaden, and I felt for him so hard. But the end of that was so epic. Their whole situation there, and Violet poisoning everyone while they poisoned the cake, and I was freaking out about Garrick, and then I was freaking out about Riddick, and Riddick's whole line with the cook about how he hates to sew was awesome. And Violet's just so smart. And I don't know, all of the isles, like Violet continually, when they would arrive places, always would be like, I don't like being in charge. I don't want to be in charge. I hate being in charge. But
look at her now.
Yeah, but she always would be the one that would like clean up everybody else's mess because she was so smart.
Yeah.
Which is why her dad trained her the way he did.
Yep.
I fully 100% believe that even though they told her that she was on track to be a scribe and they had trained her as a scribe and her dad had taught her to be a scribe, I don't think they ever were going to make her a scribe. I think that they were fully going to always have her be a writer. That's canon to me, that they fully knew she was going to be a writer her whole life.
Interesting.
And that's why,
I mean, the more we learn, the more I would lean that way.
Yeah, and they tried to dedicate her to Dune, but obviously she had a whole trajectory with Xaden, and so they wouldn't accept her. So I guess I could see that they maybe were like, well, if we can't cure her illness, but she was so little, I don't know if they would have known at that point, you know?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know, but anyways, I think she was always going to be a writer, but her dad knew that she had to be the smartest one.
Yeah.
She had to be smarter
to
make up for where she was lacking.
Interesting.
So he trained her as a scribe, and then her mom pushed her to be a writer. Because they always knew that was the path she was going to take.
I do just need to mention Halden's basket.
Yeah.
That was what we all needed. Like he was in the book for just such a short little snippet of time, but it was so beautiful. It was so good. It was so good. He deserves absolutely nothing.
I was really worried for a little bit there at the very beginning when they were getting into politics stuff and the idea of the prince coming and Halden being there, or Violet's first love and whatever, and we kept getting all these hints that about Halden, and she was like, oh no, that I was like, I don't want another love triangle. I don't want that. I hate a love triangle. I hate it. I
was never worried. I was like, I don't think that's gonna be an issue.
No. But the second that we met him, and we found out who he was, like, no, I was happy about that. He sucks.
He sucks. So him having to ride around in a little basket is so funny to me.
And him contrasting Arik. How do you say it?
I say Eric.
I always say Arik in my head.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyways, but their contrast is really awesome.
Crazy.
Really, really awesome.
That was another reason I felt like it was important that he made an appearance in this book, was so that we like really understand Eric better. Because, you know, he's like mentioned his brothers and like why he is now like in the writer's quadrant and whatnot, like a million times over. But to see the contrast, I think, was important.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was needed for sure.
Yeah, definitely. What was I gonna
Oh,
follow up with after that?
another thing, we're just bebopping all over the place in this book. Something that I haven't seen that many people talk about, which is crazy to me, Lynx, who's also a shadow wielder.
Yeah.
I hate it. Scares me a lot. So in my head, I'm just gonna choose to believe that maybe, I don't know, maybe he could be like Bodhi and he just counters signets and he just accidentally was countering Xaden's because I'm scared.
But there's always has to be balance, whether he's gonna be cured in the end or not. Like,
yeah, I know that's not
currently right now,
probable, and he's definitely another shadow wielder, but I don't like
he
it.
definitely. It's because he currently, like, right now is Venin.
Yeah, I know.
But also,
I hate it.
what makes me, like, my brain tingle a little bit,
Oh,
sends off alarm bells up in there, is that all of the other Venin that have contrasting riders have been
sorry, I just realized
have
something.
been
Continue.
around for, like, so long,
Yeah,
and Xaden just became Venin,
right.
but Lynx was already bonded to a dragon
Right.
when he became Venin.
Right.
So, like, did that?
But
have
he
to
wasn't
be
manifesting yet, so.
I know, but the power's always in them.
Yeah, but
So did he? Was that, like, predestined in the universe?
then we're getting into like fate and shit.
I know, because Dune knew. The priestesses in
That's
Dune
true.
knew.
That is true. And he like Xaden was like
So-
magic always knows, or he made some comment like that. I'm paraphrasing.
It's always pre.
Oh. I hate it, but I had to bring it up. Like, I'm sorry.
No,
it
it's
had to
okay.
be brought up. But then building off of that, I just gasped because I was like, oh my gosh. So we know that Naolan was a siphon, right?
Yes.
And so I don't know if siphoning, I don't know if it was mentioned anywhere in the book, if that was one that like there could be multiple siphons like at a time, or if it was like a rare signet. But just one more thing adding. I mean, we all, I think, are dying on the hill that Naolan is Venin. Like, we're all there. But this is just one more thing, like Sloane being a siphon, and then there needing to be like a balance here. That kind of just like is one more little bit that could add to that. Like one more little building block. How do you feel about the theories that like Sloane is gonna be like major to the cure? Because I don't really know how I feel about that.
I don't know. I wish I had more of my own theories.
Right?
But
I don't really have like
I just
many of my
don't.
own.
I feel like it would make sense if Sloane was vital to the cure.
Yeah, but I don't think it's like solely her. Like I don't think
No.
she is the cure.
But it would also be like crazy since she refused for pretty much all of this book to even use her signet.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that like she is the one that could save them.
Yeah.
But
Would be pretty crazy. But I don't think it's like gonna be one
I feel like they
person
would have
unless it's
tried
Violet.
that already though.
Yeah.
Because back whenever, I'm sure there was another siphon, and I feel like they would have tried, and they said they tried everything.
That is
I don't
true.
know.
Yeah, so I mean, I already didn't really buy that. But I just am trying to think of like other ways that she could be involved. Because obviously, like,
I think she's going to be a big part of the story.
Yeah.
I really, really have listened to so many other people talk about it, and I also agree, and we've talked about it, really want the whole Dane and Sloane situation work out. I was into that.
My God, I
was into that.
did not. So literally did not have rooting for Dane on my Onyx Storm bingo card.
No.
Did not have it on my bingo card.
I liked him better after Iron Flame. Like, it wasn't that I hated him as much anymore,
Right.
but I still wasn't a huge fan. But after this book, I actually genuinely like him.
Yeah, I'm like actually really rooting for him. Him and Sloane also was not what I would have expected, but I loved it.
Yeah.
But this was Riddick's book.
It was Riddick's book.
I
He
loved
so
him
good.
in this book. I was a little bit sussed out, though, by, like, just how hard he was pushing to go with them. I was like, something's weird here. And then he gave his reasoning, and I was like, oh,
I know.
Riddick.
He's so scared.
I know.
He's just a little boy. I could cry, like, thinking about him, actually.
Oh my god, my heart is so full anytime I think about Riddick. I just love him so, so, so much. And he was just even better. Like, he gets better with each book.
Yeah.
I love him.
Him and specifically him and his dragon and their relationship was so strong in this book, and I like but I think that stemmed into everybody. Like, everybody's relationships. It was cool that we
got to see, like, more between each of the riders and their dragons. Like, especially Riddick and his dragon, but, like, all of them.
And the griffins, too.
Yeah.
Like, we got to see more of that relationship. And then at the end, when we got Rhee's perspective, hearing how her dragon talks to her was, like, understanding that whole relationship even better.
That was really cool.
Awesome.
That was really cool.
So
and I had heard, like, the whole tagline, you know, let us be menaces, like, before the book came out. That was, like, a big deal. That we knew that was going to be a line in the book. I did not expect it to come from Rhee or her dragon.
Yeah,
how do you pronounce her dragon's name? Fierg?
I think it's Fierg.
Okay. I did not expect that to come from them. I was like, oh, okay, so this is going to be like Andarna or, you know, like, I don't know. I thought it was going to come from one of our other dragon friends, so I did not expect that. Andarna.
Are we scheming? I love scheming.
I love her. I love her so much.
Her leaving was also really upsetting.
Heartbreaking. But I want to know what happened in that time that she was gone and then came back. Like, she came back, but what happened between her leaving and coming back?
I think
because she was gone long enough that, like, she went. She went. So what happened?
I know.
Like, I really hope we learn more about that. I mean, we will.
What I think is that she went, met all of these dragons, and was like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. Like, these are not, like, you might be my family, but you're not my family.
Yeah, like, I assume that's how it went. Because it was just this is not where I'm supposed to be. But, like, I feel like she got some important information.
Like, they kept yelling at Violet and Andarna and were like, you are too violent. But, like,
what
they
did
don't
you
have
expect?
a choice. Yeah, they don't have a choice.
No. They have no choice whatsoever. And also,
what are they going to just,
like, what do you think?
Put their head in the sand?
Exactly. And here's my other thing is they're like, well, we left you there hoping, like, you would change this. But I'm like, how would one baby dragon change the dynamic of, like, this whole continent versus the other way around? Like, she's being raised in that, not her raising them in that, if that makes sense.
And
I'm
she
like,
is very
what do you
different.
Expect?
She
what do you
is
expect?
very different from
and
all
she
the other dragons.
She is very different than them in a lot of ways. And she said that. She explained that. Her, like, telling her whole story, I heard someone say that it's like Olaf when he's, like, doing his whole recap, and I said, oh, I can't unsee that.
It's so
cute. Can't unsee
she was
that.
so excited.
She was so excited to tell them.
So not excited.
And they were so mean to her.
Sad.
I said, do not say that to my sweet baby angel.
Ugh, that was really, really upsetting, actually.
I was so upset. I was so distraught when that happened. I felt for her so hard. And then it seemed like they were, like, gonna hear her out until they saw Xaden, which is interesting.
Yeah, but that, again, made me upset.
But that upset me, because I was like, well, these people clearly...
Yeah, you're talking about being, you know...
Like, they know
not
what they're
fighting
doing here.
And being pacifists and blah, blah, blah. And then,
yeah.
like, maybe you deserve to be taken over by the Venin.
Which is crazy.
And then when they are with a Venin trying to save everyone, they got upset. And I was like, what do you want?
Like, this is my thing is I'm like, they are trying. They're not just, like, trying to win a war here. They're trying to, like, find a cure. Like, they're trying to save people.
Yeah.
Like, they are aiming for peace. So,
I know.
ugh. Yeah, they made me very aggravated.
You can't just like stick your head in the sand.
No.
And they kept saying that the whole time. They were like, all these isles can say, you know, we're gonna not fight and do whatever and we're fine and we're safe, but what's gonna happen if on the continent we lose this war?
Right.
And then they're gonna try and find other places to feed.
But the Isles were continuously described as very muted, not having magic, all these things. So what if the Isles are already drained?
Zinal had magic.
Zinal had magic, or the Isle of Zinal. Zelna, whatever the actual name of the isle was like different. But the Isle of Zinal had magic. So, I have some questions.
There was another one that had magic too.
Yeah.
I think it was Unreal, maybe. That felt like it had a little bit.
Wasn't that...
They could talk to.
Wasn't that like one of the little ones in between though? It wasn't one of the main ones.
Maybe. I don't know.
And so, but like Umbriel was one of the ones that was described
too.
as like really muted, other than what they added to it
I
that
had
had
the
color.
Too.
So it's like, are they already drained? Were they drained forever and ever and ever ago?
As they were going, it was like they would get more and more colorful and have more and more magic.
Yeah.
I had the same thought. That were they drained?
So I'm
in the past?
assuming,
but it had
some
to have
of
been...
them have already been drained, but like long ago.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's
like
gonna
with
be
the original
a historical like download.
I think it's like when the original 6 were there, they were drained.
Ooh. Yeah,
because then there
like
was
way back when. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we'll come back to that. But exactly, they were like, okay, well then what happens when this whole area is drained? Then they're just gonna come to you guys anyway. Like we're trying to stop it before it happens. Like they're trying to prevent it. And so I didn't love that the Yurds were like, just let it happen. Maybe you deserve to be taken
I
over.
was so let down by that. I was so mad.
I was so upset about that. So now...
But then...
I'm kind of like, okay, so how are they... Well, because then the one showed up and, like, helped them with the wards and then dipped again. Yeah. And so I was like, okay.
And he
took Andarna with him. And then she came back. And he broke the bond, too, which is crazy. But, like, real quick, he came, took Andarna, and left. And I was like, okay, so... Are you, like, I don't know. I'm just upset. I'm upset with them.
Yeah. But I don't think... Because then Andarna tried to burn one of them. She tried to burn a Venin again.
Oh, I was like...
She tried to burn a Venin again, and it didn't work.
When was that?
It happened. I vividly remember... Oh. I don't know, one of the battles towards the end when she was still there. Maybe when they were protecting the Temple of Dune. At least when I read it, that was what I interpreted it as, was that she tried to burn one and it didn't work.
Okay.
And so
when I reread, because I will be rereading,
they're not. Maybe they can't kill them. I don't know. It was tough. To tell what's gonna happen with the units. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I just don't love what we got of that.
Yeah.
I'm really upset about it, actually.
You know what I did love, though? I loved the last battle.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
When Violet lost the conduit. And then she was like, well, I guess I just have to do volume rather than accuracy.
Yeah.
But she was killing left and right.
That was so sick. Because, like, we hear little bits and pieces of her being like, I've been training every day. I've been doing this. I've been doing that, which is cool. And, like, if we heard about every time she trained, it would be, like,
absurd.
A book that high. Yeah. Like, you can't talk about that. So it was cool to see, like, oh, this is paying off, even though it's like all off page. That was really cool.
And she was worried, but she made it happen.
Yeah.
She was splitting her lightning into like 10 bolts. Correct. It was awesome. So awesome. So sick.
Because before that it was like 2 or 3 that we had like last heard of.
Yeah. I just want to know why they wanted her so bad.
Well, that's
we still don't know.
We still don't really know. Like, we understood, like, the surface level where they were just like, oh, that's just a really powerful signet. That would be really incredible to have on our side. But that's, like, surface level. There's way more to it than that we don't know. There has to be way more to it than that.
Yeah, I
There
want
has
to know.
be. There has to be. And also, it was kind of wild that we got like a specific Ven in this book, because I know like we've been hearing about the Sage and everything, but it was kind of really cool that like the villain had a name this book. We had like one specific villain this book that I really liked.
Yeah. We
And
still had the
so-
Sage, which now we know is
Right.
Berwyn.
Yes. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. Yes. So we still had the Sage, which now we
But-
have a name for, but like the Sage was kind of in the background.
Yeah,
In the background for a
Theophany.
little while.
Theophany was
now-
the one.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool that we actually had like a singular. I mean, again, there are other ones in here, but it was cool to have like
Mhm.
a villain in this book that we were really following. Which seems like really random. That I was like, okay, there's just this one specific venom that like wants
But
her
then
all of a sudden.
finding
But
out-
then we found out about like the whole Dune issue and like that she was like a high priestess before and all that. So that was really cool.
And that she was connected to her
And that-
mom.
yeah.
And
Yeah, so we were like, okay, now I get it. But in the beginning of the book, I was like, okay, cool.
But
Like, she just
again-
came out of nowhere, and then I was like,
that's
Rebecca
another
knows what she's doing. Sure enough.
that's another reason that I think they needed all three of their children to be riders, because they knew
Yep,
that there
makes
was
sense.
this venom that was,
that makes sense.
you know, on the hunt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in one of the passages of Violet's dad's books,
Mhm.
he mentioned that, or he had that letter to her that was like, if you're reading this, then I've passed on to Malik, and he mentioned that he was like, and your mom probably has too, or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And so I think they always knew that
Yeah.
they were going to have to sacrifice themselves in some way or another. And so they needed all three of their children to be riders.
Bro, this is your own theory. You said you don't have your own theories, but like, this is your own theory.
Okay, so I have my own theory.
She goes, actually, I do have my own theory. And here it all is that you've been talking about literally the entire episode. So.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was
No,
like...
don't be sorry. It's great. I am following, and
Yeah.
you're selling me on it. You're selling me on it.
I think that
But-
they all three of them had to be riders, because then
Interesting.
Theophany again said to Violet, she was like, if it was gonna be one of her children, I thought it would be the other daughter,
Right.
but
Right.
it ended up being Violet that was the
Right.
most powerful.
Well, and speaking of Mira, there was in the bookstore when Mira was like, ugh, why does she get this? And, you know, Brennan got that and blah, 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 blah. And they were like, well, I wonder what, like, legacy or something they left you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just continue the book and it never comes back into play.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was maybe mentioned somewhere else, but I feel like something
That's
important.
gotta come back.
Yeah, that's
around.
gotta come back. Like something important. Mira is gonna play another important role somewhere here.
Mm-hmm.
I
I think Brennan is gonna be evil.
I don't trust him. I
Yeah.
don't trust him. He's suspicious. I've been suspicious of him since the beginning, and it could be just because her dad thought he was dead, but in her dad's letter to her, he said, trust only Mira. He didn't say Brennan, which could be because he thought he was dead. Or he was like, even I don't trust my own son. I don't know. Only trust Mira.
Yeah.
It could go both ways. Maybe it's just because he thought he was dead.
Did he think he was dead at that
But
point?
did
though?
he though? But did he though?
Was Brennan dead at that point when he wrote that?
Oh, I didn't check the timeline.
Because that was with his research, right?
Yeah.
So that was stored long
Ooh.
before.
Ooh. Okay.
So maybe even
I'm
not.
gonna dig into that. I'm gonna look at that. I don't know.
Who do you think is the other brother at the very end?
I was gonna ask you that.
The brother.
I am having
my
a
God,
really
I love
hard
this
time.
question.
Oh my god, I love this question.
I think
God, I don't know, because
we've talked a lot about this.
we've discussed this at length. The logical part of me is like, okay, so it's Bodhi. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think Rebecca would make it that obvious. But maybe she is. Like, maybe she would. And she wants us to overthink it. And then it is just going to be Bodhi or Garrick. But Xaden said, like, this person has watched me struggle for the past 5 months. So it can't be, like, Riddick or Sawyer, like, any of them, because they just found out. they like just learned about it. So it can't be any of them. It has to be someone that watched it happen.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't be any of the girls because he said new brother. So it couldn't be like Imogen or anyone.
Mm-mm.
And plus Imogen's there at the end. So I don't think so. And God.
It's not Brennan because
Brennan.
he was there, and I think it would have
And
been
Brennan,
too obvious if his
Brennan,
dragon
I feel
was
like
dead.
is either not Venom right now or has been Venom the whole time. I don't think he like would have just turned. Like if he's at all involved.
Yeah, I like the obvious
Oh.
choice is Bodhi
Yeah.
because I don't think that I think Garrick is off the table for me
Right.
because the more I've been thinking about it, they talked about the eggs being missing.
Right. I think Garrick is taking
And-
the eggs to the Isles.
Yeah, because he can do it super fast.
Yeah. But
He could just walk over. There.
he was like so drained at the end.
I know, but
And
he
so that
could've-
would have
he
had to have
could've
happened in like the
grabbed
past 12 hours.
He could have grabbed the eggs, hopped on his dragon, hopped to Deverelli, dropped an egg there, rested, and then gone on from there, you know?
True. That's true. That is true. God, I don't know. And then part of me was like, Dane, because of the line where he's like, the person that I would like least expect, like the last person I would have expected, which I was like, Dane. But
Dane
Dane
doesn't
didn't know.
Yeah.
unless he did, like, this is my issue with this though, is I'm like, oh, well, they didn't know, unless they did. So there is that little part of me, like in the back of my head, that's like, unless they did. Which is a little bit of Brennan, where I'm like, actually, we learned like he didn't act that surprised. So like, I think he knew. So
Brennan did know. Brennan
like,
knew.
Well, yeah, but like how long? How
yeah,
long did
we
he
just
know?
don't know how long.
So we don't know how long he knew. So the whole like they watched me struggle for the past 5 months thing is like questionable when it comes to Brennan. Dane, I don't think knew. Like I don't think he did.
No.
But there's a little bit that's like unless he did. But I don't think Dane, like I think it is going to be the obvious with Bodhi. And Bodhi, there's like so much foreshadowing that's happened because he's been referred to as like, oh, he could be his brother. They look so much alike. He could be his brother. Someone else, I think like in one of the books, I could be totally making this up, was like, oh, his brother, like bring the brother. And then they brought Bodhi and they were like, oh, you didn't specify.
No, he said
And they meant Jack,
It was when they
but-
were reading the letter from Stephanie that had given it to Garrick.
Stephanie.
And Garrick was like, bring Violet and Xaden and the brother.
Yeah, and the
and
brother.
Xaden's brother. And they were like, well, I don't have a brother, but I have my cousin, and he's basically my brother. And then
Yeah.
they realized it meant Jack.
Yeah. So like that one has been foreshadowed a lot.
Also, did you catch the fact that they were like, Jack knows something because Stephanie tried to kill Jack?
Yeah. But she didn't, right?
She missed.
Yeah, she missed, but then Jack is still in a box? Question mark?
And then they
He's-
threw him back in the
yeah.
box, and
they
got
threw him back
out
in the
of
box
there.
and got him out of there.
Garrick took him.
So homie's somewhere. He's somewhere. Probably
Just back,
probably back
he's
at
just
Best Buy.
back at Best Buy, yeah.
But like questionable. But yeah, so I don't know, but at the same time, Bodhi just makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Also because like as much as I would love to say, oh, he just married Violet because he wanted to and was so urgent and he knew that like he was losing the last bit of himself, so he had to marry her and whatever. I also think like he had to marry her because Bodhi turned, so someone had to take over Tyrandor.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So, as obvious as it is, I think it's Bodhi. I think.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah,
feel about
I think
that?
so too. I don't want it to be because
Right?
it's
I'm like, I don't want it to be
obvious,
because it's obvious, and I feel like
but-
she should have just said it then.
Yeah,
But
but I think it.
But
I think it
is.
has to be. It's
It
the
has to
only
be.
obvious answer.
unless
His
she's doing this to
dragon-
us on purpose, and
his
it's like, I'm gonna make
dragon
all of
is
you think
dead
Bodhi, and
now,
then it's gonna be
though.
someone else.
His dragon is dead now.
It is really sad. Sorry, I did
because-
not mean to just like skip
'cause-
over
no,
that.
no,
That
no,
is really
wait.
sad.
No, but okay, so because Xaden is still like tied to Sigale or bonded with Sigale, and she has not forsaken him yet or
Correct.
severed that bond
Correct.
yet. Because he's still a good person, in my
And she
personal
knows
opinion, and she
it.
knows it. Bodhi doesn't have a dragon anymore, though. So does that mean that he can't be cured? Because, like...
So what I've been questioning this whole time was that the Fables of the Baron story with the three brothers. I'm like, does that actually have significance? Like, is that going to come back as, like, a prophecy kind of thing? So if he doesn't have a dragon, he could be the one in the Fables, like, in the Fable that doesn't have the dragon.
Oh,
because
my gosh, yes.
We spoke about this earlier.
Wait.
We talked about this earlier because we were like,
then who's the one with the griffin?
If it's Bodhi, then, like, there has to be one of them, because in the Fable there's one with a dragon, one with a griffin, and then one that
was the jealous brother.
Was the jealous brother that, like, you know, sources magic from the ground. And from what we understood, like, doesn't have a dragon. So if Bodhi's dragon died and he's still alive because he's a Venin, he could be but then who's the one with the griffin?
But it's still three brothers.
Well, and Jack also doesn't have a dragon. So if Jack is one of the brothers, he also doesn't.
I forgot that Jack doesn't have a dragon.
I kind of forgot about that until I just said it, and then I was like,
oh, darn it, take it all back.
Okay, take it all back. Never mind.
But can he not be cured now, though? Because I feel like that would be...
But it also scares me because...
says that Sigale is the one anchoring him to his life.
Anchoring him to something else. Not his life, right? He says, like...
Anchoring him to the world. Anchoring him to the...
But if Bodhi doesn't have a dragon, does that mean he still has his signet? Yes. Because other Venin have signets. Theophany had a signet. She's a, like, weather wielder. And she never had a dragon, as far as we know. So, well, yeah, because she was a high priestess, so never mind. She never had a dragon. Or doesn't have one. So she still has a signet. So Bodhi can counter signets. If he's a Venin that can counter signets, we're cooked.
It is not Dane. Confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a passage and it says, I'm everywhere at once, shredding the net that ensnares Sigale, tearing the heart from the wyvern who has Dane and Kath backed into a corner, rushing over Imogen as she looks at the sky. Passing one by one, passes Violet. So yeah, the only people that he mentions though is Dane and Imogen and Violet.
Yeah, and Eric was said to be leaving the battle. Like, Eric is also missing right now, but I don't think it's him because he was said to be leaving the battle like halfway through. So I think he's out doing other things.
I found the quote. I finally found it. Oh, that took me forever. How fucking dare they pull my dragon from the sky, snare and hurt the one who anchors my existence.
Okay.
So my whole thing is, like, if she's anchoring him and he's cured, like, that bond stays in place and that's what's going to keep him alive.
Yeah. Or at least keeps him open to a cure.
Yeah. But Bodhi doesn't have that anymore.
Complete sidetrack. We were having a conversation in the car last night. We were on our way home from dinner. We were listening to Brat, naturally.
Of course. Love you, Charlie.
Love Charlie. Riddick would love Brat.
Yeah, Riddick would love
Give
Brat.
Riddick a speaker. And I think he'd be listening to Brat all throughout the battle. Oh my god. Imagine him just, like, flying past you in battle, and you just hear, like, tiny little bits of, like, club classics.
365. That's what you hear. Flying by.
Boom, 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 boom. And you're just like,
club. That's what you hear. He would, though.
You just hear, like, little bits of it, but I feel like he would love Brat. Mm-hmm. Anyway, back to, did you...
No, I was just kind of skimming.
Okay.
In that part, it only says an unconscious dragon surrounded by 6 wyvern. So
I just did some digging.
Read it.
And in Xaden's chapter, he's talking about when Berwin stabs the dragon of the brother. Through dragon scales, it desiccates green, draining from its scales and shrinking in on itself to a husk. Who has a green dragon?
Who we know is
Guys,
in this chapter has a green dragon. Panchek has a green dragon, but so does Bodhi.
Wait, Bodhi has a green dragon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then, there you go.
Confirmed, it's Bodhi.
Chat. I think we know.
But it could have been
Panchek's that he drained.
Panchek
Pancheck was also
Also-
there. No, but is that possible? Okay, so I think
so
I
it's
think that was
Pancheck's dragon.
Pancheck's dragon. Okay,
Okay,
so never
so
mind.
never
Never
mind.
mind. Not confirmed. Sorry, everybody.
Wow.
Sorry,
that's
guys.
stressful.
Disregard me talking
No,
about.
that I was thinking the same thing. That was stressful. So that was Pancheck's dragon. So
Yeah.
he killed Pancheck's dragon to kill Pancheck.
Oh, I see.
Because
but
he's
how
not-
did he provide Pancheck with power? How do you?
I don't know.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean
Well,
by
we
that?
don't know what do we know what Berwyn's signet is?
Actually, I don't think we do.
Is he a siphon? Could he siphon off his power into... Berwyn is Naolan.
I don't know
Is
about
he a
that. I
siphon
don't know
and he's
about that.
Siphoning his powers into...
Um,
I don't know.
Oh.
Or is he
ooh.
or is he putting power into... I really don't know. My only other thought, or like the thing I will die on this hill, I 120% feel that, and people debate it, but I accept no other answer. Violet erased her memory 120% because she cannot have anyone know
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
Xaden is. And
Agreed. And I think he had to tell her the whole plan to like convince her to go through with like a whole ass wedding.
I don't think it took much. Cats are hissing at each other.
Hissing at each other.
Um,
I don't think it would have taken much convincing, but I think he had to at least tell
but
her.
he had to give her the whole plan, but she
Yeah.
cannot know. She
No.
cannot remember.
But she cannot know because as soon as she gets there, they're all like, Xaden is missing. So she's going to be questioned.
And although we trust Dane now,
Right. Well,
we trust him,
who
but
mentioned it in the beginning of the book? They were like, we still don't fully trust Danitos.
I don't think that he would purposefully
I don't,
you
I
know,
don't
like,
think he would. No.
do anything, but
No.
if he touched her and accidentally saw anything,
Yeah.
if anything were to happen, if she
I think like she was
was
the only one that knew,
questioned.
and so then they had to erase her memory. That way, no one else could see it. If Dane
Mhm.
accidentally saw it, then he would know like that whole thing. So
Yeah. But Sigale knows, Taryn knows. My question is,
yeah,
and Andarna probably knows, unless Andarna didn't go with her for those 12 hours.
that's what I don't know.
But
And
that is as long as she could go
is
without being with her
Sigale
if their
also
bond is still
missing?
back.
Is Sigale also missing?
Probably. We don't know, but probably. But Taryn and Sigale can't be apart. So
I don't know.
unless she severed their bond,
Which
but
I'm really
I
scared
don't
of. I've
think
heard
that
multiple people talk about that, and I don't even want to think about it. I don't think
she
so.
did.
I don't think
No,
so.
no, not Taryn's bond, but Xaden's bond with her.
Oh,
But I don't think she
I've
did.
heard people talk
I
about
don't
both. I don't know if she did or not. I don't know about like her bond with her and Xaden. I refuse to believe that Sigale and Taryn
Yeah,
have,
no.
like a
that
broken bond. I don't even think that's
no, that
that's
didn't
not
happen.
Possible.
That did not
Come on
happen.
now. No.
I'm wondering if Imogen's signet works on dragons as well.
I was wondering that.
Because
wondering that.
did she have to also erase? She can't erase Sigale's because.
And you think Taryn's gonna
she's-
let her anywhere near him to erase
Yeah.
his memories? Like, come on now.
No, I don't think that
He wouldn't even
she's-
let Xaden. Like, he barely let Xaden near him.
But okay, just another. I guess my last tidbit. Just again on the Naolan train. That Naolan is Venin because every time that Violet would bring up his previous writer, who is Naolan,
Correct.
that's confirmed, isn't it? Or is that just theory?
Is it just like canon in my brain and I've just accepted it as confirmed?
I don't know, but every time he always says we don't talk about my previous writer. He refuses to speak about the one before, as he says. I will not talk about the one that came before. And if his previous writer really was Naolan,
When Violet first hears of Taryn in Fourth Wing, she's informed that his previous writer, Naolan, died trying to resurrect.
Yeah.
So, yes.
he... Oh my gosh, the cats are like gonna fight.
Interesting.
Anyways, but he always says to not bring him up.
Yeah.
And then Taryn has this really strong reaction about Xaden all the time and is always like, oh, the dark one, the dark one, the dark one. And I was like, that would make sense. Sorry, cat just rolled over. That would make sense if he like feels really strongly about not wanting to talk about Naolan and then is very upset about Xaden because now what happened to him is happening to his mate.
I know.
And Naolan is venending. So yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, there's so much more to talk about, and
I have nothing more in my brain.
My brain is like so fried, guys. And again, clearly, like it sounds like I did not read this book.
No, it doesn't.
There's a couple of things where I'm like, who said this? Someone said something like this at one point. It does not sound
like that.
Okay.
There's a lot, and we read it so fast.
There's a lot, and we read it really fast, and we haven't reread it yet. So these are just like first reactions and theories and things, and just going off of like theories I've seen so far. But I will be processing this information and rereading and digging and digging and digging until the next one comes out. And then we'll be right back where we are now. Probably.
So, I think that's all we have for you.
Yeah, I don't think there's much more I can say.
Leave your theories in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are listening on any platform that holds a podcast. Please
Rate us give us a good rating.
Stars.
We would appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, we love that. And do that for any other podcast you listen to too. It's great.
Perfect.
And we will see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right.